Alright, welcome back to some more Hexarchy, and in today's video, I'm going to ramble aimlessly about what I think about all the civilizations and play one round of the brand new week of Hegemon. I really do like the global Hegemon mode. Uh, it gives you access to this, series of daily challenge-like things, but every single map is randomized, so you can just keep going for this mode as much as you want. You get to experience the fun parts about just building up and playing a 4X strategy game without any of the time commitments. And this close to the weekly reset on Sunday, you can count the number of runs total. Like here, China's winning with three. Three entire playthroughs across the entire world. These numbers mean nothing when oftentimes the winning civilization from the previous week will have 300,000 points. So these numbers mean nothing right now, which is actually kind of fun seeing all two people playing England right now. But the reason why I'm going to be staring at this screen for the next who knows how long and rambling about civilizations is I'm looking for a secondary. I am totally happy playing Russia all day, every day, uh, uh, as long as it goes. But some other people are playing enough Russia in the ranked queue that I'm not always getting access to it. And especially if there's another tournament, being able to pull out a secondary, a pocket civilization, in order to mess up people's targeting and politics would be really useful. And I'll admit, the red color scheme doesn't quite work with me. I am still going to be playing Russia all the time, but here I'm looking for a secondary civilization, which was a big part of why I was playing random civs in ranked all last week. This week, I'm probably going to try and choose one or two and focus down on them, and also choose that civ for the global hegemon. And while we're here, I'm going to make this cute little tier list chart while I'm thinking about it. Da-da-da-da. So, starting off at the bottom, Persia is the one civ in this entire game that I'm not happy of playing. Immortals are a really good unit. They're so extraordinarily good on defense that oftentimes, if you see that you're bordering a Persia player, you just don't bother, turn around, and go and fight someone else. That feeling of having to deal with Immortals is so good on defense, but that's all they get. That's it. Satrap is better than people make it out to be, but it's mostly a way to deal with map randomness, like grabbing one extra resource to space away from your city. And frankly, the reduced supply cost is a bit too boring, so Persia is the one civ in the entire game I'm not happy with playing. And because the whole point about this setup is for me to play someone who's not Russia, you're going on the list right now. Going back to the list, so I'm looking for a civilization that's really versatile. The reason why I like Russia so much is just how simple the food and happiness bonuses are. It lets you make cities significantly larger than other civs without having to take the time and invest in happiness. And you don't even necessarily have to build farms. You just get big cities quickly, easily, without worrying about it. And resiliency in particular is really good for turning a fresh city into effectively a barracks, getting tons of pressure. And all of this economy bonuses from the food is active on turn 1 and goes all the way for the rest of the game, as every unit you build needs more food to pay for it. Russia gives you the food. So we get a turn 1 economy bonus, and Cossack, being, in my opinion, the strongest unit in the game right now, makes their late game feel so good to play, which is why I'm here with Russia. They are probably the most versatile civilization, so if I'm looking for a replacement, a backup civilization to play them, I need someone who's similarly versatile. So going left to right with several of the other no's, Greece is really interesting because Breakthrough, when it rolls 2, is probably the best civ card out of everyone on the list, and the companion cavalry is extremely strong late early game, while their ability to pull multiple civics, specifically secularism for the whole huge culture boost of craftsmanship, and state religion for the huge culture boost of both monastery and holy warrior, gives Greece surprisingly good late game. The thing is, they don't get anything to work with early game. If you roll a 1 on Breakthrough, it's just a really fancy way of burning a card without burning the card. So, yes, I like Greece. I'm willing to play them, but they don't have the level of versatility I'm looking for. France is just hardcore late game. The huge culture boosts mean that they're good at getting the final couple of points onto the board, and the power of the Imperial Guard and their artillery make them extremely good at handling late game fights, especially against Russia. But like the fact you can low roll and only get one happiness on great work, along with it doing basically nothing by itself. The average early game hex costs 4 culture to grab, and this only gets you an extra 2. It means they're so focused on the late game that I also, yeah, I like playing them, but not here for a secondary. Egypt has this interesting Gift of the Nile card that is really good early game, although it's a little bit too good early game. If you're playing anyone who is not Russia, when you put your capital down, you have to get up to 3 food before you can build a settler turn 1. And in theory, Gift of the Nile is perfect for doing this. In practice, you always draw your Civ Tech card as your very first card on your deck. So if your settler isn't in that an opening 4 cards hand, then you have to put Gift of the Nile on the bottom and you can't use it. That inconsistency means that Egypt's early game's a little bit weaker than it looks, and the Wonder Cost thing gives them this wonderful ability to high roll to get like a turn 1 pyramids in the crazy locations and sometimes just win the game on the spot over that. But if you don't get a ton of resources that are mineable in particular after the nerf, like, it's not as strong as it looks, especially when you want to be building a lot of your wonders using resources rather than hammers indirectly. In exchange, they have potentially the second best unit in the game right now, the Horse Archer, which is A, people are underestimating ranged units, and B, extreme lit mobility, means that Egypt overall, despite its weirdness, it is, in theory, the strongest civilization in the game, but it needs to rely on drawing settler in its opening hand and getting a perfect spot for pyramids in order to get that. It's like a lucky high roll civilization, which, when I'm looking for versatile and consistent, hard to compete with Russia there. So looking back at this little list, like, this is not like a power list. This is like a I'm interested in playing them list so far. Like, as we're going, I'm okay with getting these guys on random, but like, I'm not excited to be pulling them as like I want to be playing them all week long, which is the whole point about today's hegemon choice. Going more left to right, Rome is really interesting. Infrastructure is probably the second strongest of all the Civ cards in the game after a high roll on Breakthrough, and is clearly the best if you low roll on the Breakthrough. Like, the ability to get a university out on potentially turn 3 for a single gold is so valuable. And infrastructure on roads combined with their all roads lead to Rome passive makes it really, really fun to play Rome. It combined that with like the Legionnaires' like unique way of like tutoring the deck for promotion cards. Like, Rome is just like this interesting little bundle of fun. I'm not quite convinced the power level is there, because hammers are great. Hammers are the thing that plays cards, and cards win games, and Rome's passive gives you hammers, and lets you play more cards per city. So all of this is great. Problem is, you have to specifically get road, and you have to get enough roads worked on land tiles with enough cities with population. Preferably, you paid for those roads with infrastructure. That's a lot of ifs that have to come together. You can make it work if you're like careful of how you move your deck, but it makes Rome feel a little bit inconsistent. If you're ever in a spot where you have to, say, burn Russia's unique resiliency card, it's okay, it's fine, it doesn't hurt your game plan that much. It would be nice to continue having it, but you can live without it. Same thing with France, same thing with Greece, same thing with Egypt. Rome is just a different civilization if you ever have to burn infrastructure. Like, you can't afford to lose this card. That like level of inconsistency can come back and bite Rome, but overall, I do really enjoy Rome, and they're like one of the big three that I'm going to be looking at for playing as a backup civilization. Next up, we have England, especially after the subtle buff to their first passive ability. England has both a good early game and therefore a good late game. The bonus to gold is so valuable on this patch. So just playing on water tiles, which you want to do for harbors anyways, gives you up so much draw power and consistency. And if you have a well set up economy pulling in a ton of resources, then all those resources turn into a hammer passive, kind of like Rome's. But it's like weirdly more consistent. 33% chance on 6 is almost always going to give you 2 hammers than Rome having to get a very specific setup on how they get their buildings. So I like all of the passives of England. The thing is that the fact that import only gets resources that are not currently in your inventory means that it's virtually impossible to get like the second stone or second marble you need to finish a wonder of import. You have to be like sitting on forge or a mine to grab it and then get lucky with a low roll or a high roll on import. So import isn't as good as it looks. It's because you don't have control over it, and usually is a small number. And specifically, it can't be something you currently have. If you need food, if you need a third food to build a settler, and you're holding on to two, you will never get a food because it's currently in your inventory. But longbowman is really nice. I like archers. You ask anyone in the Hexarchy official Discord about archers, and England just has archer but better. The thing about longbowmen is that they're a little bit inconsistent. If you don't have terrain that blocks ranged attacks, then they're just slightly cheaper crossbowmen, honestly, because their ignore enemy terrain defense doesn't apply to cities, which is where the most important archer exchanges happens. So England is like so close to being perfect for me that it makes the list of interesting backup civilizations that I'll play as a secondary. Um, but like I'm a little bit even more concerned about the consistency of their power level compared to Rome as well. And then next up, we have the Aztecs, who have potentially the most unique set of passives and cards, with this huge benefits for going and fighting. I find that most games you end up killing like 5 or so units, give or take a bit. So this more or less gives Aztecs like 1 turn to half a turn is like almost a tiebreaker. If there's a situation where people are staring down 99 victory points and struggling to find the last one, the Aztecs won the tiebreaker with their passive. And the gold and culture buffs for their cities is a lot better than it looks, especially on defense. Like every time they kill a unit on defense, they just push out their culture, making it harder and harder to attack them. But like Jaguar had a really cool change this patch, but I really don't like the fact that it increases in cost as well. I love the increase in strength over time, but the increase in cost like kind of ruins the efficiency for me in late game. Ritual's interesting. One of the big things I'm looking for is a civilization that's both good early game and good late game, and Ritual is an amazing mid-game card. By late game, the culture is a little bit on the small side, and you already are full up on science, and on early game, you don't have enough population, especially on like turns 1 and 2, in order to afford it. In like turns 3 through 8 or so, it's like amazing. But like it creates this like weird gulf on like the very beginning that I care about and the very end that I care about. Like Aztecs are really unique and interesting, but like they exactly are the opposite of the power curve I'm looking for. So I'm happy if I get them randomly assigned, but I'm not going to be spending my entire week playing Aztecs. Going back, we've got 2 left to look at. China is one of the 3 production hammer passives between Rome, China, and England, and also has potentially one of the most unique features in the game, the shuffle cost. People don't shuffle often enough. If you've got a critical card, usually Settler, although Gunpowder and a couple other techs are up there, then shuffling is effectively drawing your entire deck on average for the cost of only 4 gold. Here, shuffling for a single gold means that you can just get so much more card acceleration than you'd expect for it. So even though they don't have the gold passive that England's working on to get through cards, between organized labor and the shuffle cost, which organized labor pays for its own shuffle, it makes them surprisingly efficient. And Chukonu is probably my second favorite unit in the game after Cossack, because it's Archer, but better, and it hits twice better. It's like 4 archers for the price of like 1 1/3. If anything, Chukonu might need a very marginal nerf because at 4 hammers for 14 power, it looks really strong in comparison to England's 4 hammers for 8 power, nearly twice as much for the same cost. Like if anything, Chukonu might even need a slightest nerf up to like 5 hammer cost to work with. As such, China is one of the other civilizations I'm looking at for an interesting backup here. And finally, we have Arabia, which looks really boring on the surface, but you have to remember, gold is insanely valuable this patch. So just this one line, plus 1 resource for all resources sold, is worth more than like entire civilizations. Like, if Arabia had literally nothing except that one line of +1 gold for all resources sold, it would still be in the top half of civilizations power-wise. Like, it's hard to undersell just how good that line is. And Trade Hub, because it grabs so many resources, it's like surprisingly consistent that you'll be able to find, like, I'm sitting on one stone, Trade Hub, I'll find a second stone on the market pulled through by Trade Hub. So Trade Hub's also a lot better than it looks. Basically, the only downside of Arabia is their unique unit Mamluk. I don't like it. The thing I don't like about it is the fact it's only got 7 power, when it needs exactly 1 more 8 power in order to survive a companion cavalry rush early. You need 2 levels of fortification or a card buff just to survive one of the more powerful strategies in the game, and even the basic horseman will defeat a Mamluk cleanly without some sort of buff. Like, Mamluk, if it had a strength of 8, I'd actually really, really like it because it would be able to work well on defense. However, the only reason why Arabia isn't going on my backup civ section is that it doesn't have a late game payoff. The late game payoff is just your basic cards. Like, Trade Hub stops being useful about halfway through the game when you have enough wonders on the field and harbors to get stuff on the market. Like, it's very rare that on turn 10, the thing that's going to save you is like a single piece of stone. While the thing that's going to save you on turn 10 is going to be an Imperial Guard, or like a flank attack setup from an archer, or like 1 more hammer found from selling a resource. Like, it's not going to be a single stone. And then Mamluk's inability to defend even early game rushes against cavalry makes it so that I know a lot of people really enjoy Arabia, but it's not for me as far as a back of civilization goes, although it almost makes the list. So for this week, I've got to choose between Rome, England, and China. I know that there's a couple of prominent England players, actually. I think Rome and China are relatively underplayed in the current metagame. So let's try... Okay, so I can join the crowd of all 2 people who are playing China, and specifically, the shuffle into organized labor is actually something that requires practice and like a lot of math knowledge, so it actually takes longer to learn and master China. That's a big reason for me to want to try it here. The reason to want to try Rome right now is to be a hipster, because only one person's played Rome within a couple hours of the reset on Sunday, while 2 entire people are playing England and China. Obviously, none of these numbers matter, and I shouldn't be worrying about it down here. So, just because it's going to take a bit longer to learn and practice China, especially when to go for the shuffle reset from organized labor, I think I'm going to try China this week. As the rest of the video is going to be me trying to just calm and relax play through the hegemon, so making it count. Oop. Next up, how difficult the campaign should be. I find that it's easy to take on the hard bots. Hard ist bots are a little bit too much. It's not that you can't do it, it's that it's honestly just not worth the extra time compared to doing harder for the still really massive score increase. So, let's get into this. Generate me a campaign. Alright, we have a relatively short hegemon set of... You know, I actually haven't done that many daily challenges since they add the gold stored one to it, so this is going to be an experiment for me as well. And I'm actually going to read the map size, because that got me into trouble last time I played at Hegemon Round. It's a big map, but there's going to be enemies nearby. So, the goal is to not spend money, which is actually going to be really tricky, because the way that you do well in Hexarchy usually is to spend as much money as you can. Specifically, it's going to hurt the ability to get good cards onto the field at the times you need them. But because the game ends as soon as you get to 55, we'll see how this goes. And what do we have for initial setup? Not the best start by a long shot. These are the best resources to work with. This is great for long term because you get like a happiness bonus, and the culture does end up claiming hexes. They'll give you about 2 or 3 extra hexes over the course of a standard 10-turn game, and this is wonderful for China in particular, with access to uh, the hammer bonus on the lumber mill. I didn't draw the lumber mill in the starting hand. I did get the settler. But I don't. This hand doesn't have a way to get fishing into it. I have to get lucky at fishing on the top of the deck because there's no 3 food spots in order to found a city and still get the benefits. Mining up here, getting 3 resources per turn, is like 4 from the luxury and probably 5 from the stone. This is going to be the fastest way. Just if I do nothing but sit here for 10 turns, that will do it. But the goal is to try and get this as quickly as possible. So I think here, the mining is going to be more useful than the holy site, and it actually revealed that we do have a good spot to go foraging. So let's see if we can find foraging. And the specific unique thing about China is this 1 gold shuffle cost. Supposedly, shuffling organized labor in every single time you use it is really good. So let's experiment with that, as that's the goal of today's practice. Well, the entire week, as I'm going to be playing Hegemon and China in single player. So, the core of the strategy is getting the resources out of this mine. So let's get that going. I am a 2 hammers shy of getting this fishing going, and even if I do get the fishing going, I'm not going to be able to afford the settler, because this isn't a food space. But it is worth it as this gets more food onto the board. Hunter-gatherers, foraging, onto the luxury tile. This did get Beijing to 2. In order to play the settler, I have to burn 4 cards this turn, when the goal is actually to get money as quickly as possible, rather than to burn cards. So, I think we shuffle the deck. Ooh, if I shuffle the deck, the settler actually ends up with the discard, so hold on to the settler, shuffle everything else. Although 1 attempt at getting the We Love You victory point bonus is nice, the rest, money. The goal is to get money, as we are about 1/4 of the way there. I'm going to wait to sell the stone until the next turn, because of the way that the market is going to make the price of stone reduce over time. End turn. Even though this is a close spawn map, there's a very good chance an AI is going to be nearby me. I think I can rush up to the gold win condition before an AI has a chance to get to me. So here, China gets a hammer bonus from putting down the mine here, even if you don't work the tile. This is the big reason I want to play China, is I value hammers so highly, is getting this sort of stuff down. But because we're doing a Hegemon daily challenge, we don't need hammers, we need money, so goodbye. You are interesting, but I don't know if we actually have a space that's on land. If this was a land tile to go and get money off of, your scout would be amazing. But like, the scout can't swim. Not yet. When's the patch coming? I guess it's an expansion pack, really. Masonry. Metalworking into jeweler would be interesting, but I don't have any iron or marble in order to do it. And the pyramids doesn't produce money by itself, and I just don't think there is any more resources to find. So I'm going to take a risk and draw a couple cards, see if I can find anything. I don't think I am, because every time I press the Z key, I'm using the hotkey of pressing Z, it's a little bit faster. It matters in multiplayer, every second counts, because it takes the time to mouse, go all the way over here, press the button carefully, don't go too high and shuffle the deck, and then come back and look at the card. As such, Fishing Hut, you are actually a good play if I can get the settler onto this fishing hut. Ooh. It might have been a mistake to burn the mine that quickly if I can get another set of luxuries, although it's the exact same type of luxuries here. It's silver and silver, so this one won't get doubled unless I've got 10 population across the empire, which I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. So, if I do nothing, all 8 of these hammers go into my gold pile, which is going to help out. Although it seems that the price of stone dropped over the last turn. So this is only broke even from last time. Although I think I might get a little bit more value out of adding another population to Beijing through the form of, not masonry, but construction. into granary. This gets an extra population worker, and it's going to be a gold per turn, per turn, as compared to just putting all those hammers straight into gold. This is going to be getting gold every single round. Because more hammers spent, including the stone, is going to end up being up more hammers not turned into gold, I think I'm going to hold on to this, and there is Rome up here who might be able to ruin my day, but I think the Chukonu and the basic archer can keep me safe, so keep the deck thin. It's exceptionally important when I can't afford to spend this gold because I need it in order to win. I love how just such a simple change to the goal of Hexarchy dramatically changed every thought process and how to play it. Here, get the settler next to the water tile because I saved onto the fishing hut for this. Although I think that was a miscalculation holding onto it this turn, when it's going to take 2 turns in order to move and then build the city. And this one is actually too far out of range of foraging, but this one still is. I'm not going to need woodsmen this game. I might not even need anything in this tree, because the writing tree leads into culture producing sections when I need money producing. Wow. This, the harbor, produces money, but that's another card for next turn, actually. So I'm going to use one of these in order to make sure that Beijing grows. This one luxury got the happiness back, so it actually grows up food next turn. And then I think I can afford to draw 2 or 3 cards. Not you. Not you. Although this warehouse is uniquely good for China because it produces a hammer as well. Yes, you. Do I have a second use of foraging? The answer is probably yes. Although, it might just be breaking even because this should only gather 1 single version of silver because I already have a silver source that has been gathered this turn. So, actually this is interesting because this is going to get another gold per turn per turn. It won't update until the next round starts, but Beijing is now producing 2 gold instead of 1. And then architecture. I mean, I've got the stone, and Great Wall produces money, so that's money. Put you down. I don't think getting myself food or luxuries is going to make any cities happier faster. And honestly, so going up into the agriculture tree is only going to be helpful for the agrarian society, pulling in a set of luxuries every turn. But I think I can't justify the hammer spend in order to get up there quickly, so this might be a mistake, but burn you. And I don't need more happiness and culture this turn, so burn you. I do want to see both Harbor and Divine Decree, so shuffle and see when it comes back. Yeah, I think it was the correct option to hold on to all that stone, because the Great Wall is producing 2 per turn, when it only cost me effectively 3 gold for not selling the stone at 1 each. So let's get the city going. The cities automatically prioritize food over other resources here. I care about money. So I would like to forage this space, but it's a little bit too far away. If I put foraging here, it will consider have gathered the whales this turn, although, man, the whales are like struggling in this tiny little lake. Wow, where do they swim? While if I put the fishing hut, it will gather the whales every single turn. Yeah, if I go and forage here, I'm only going to get the 3 gold, nothing else, which is something, but isn't as exciting as Harbor producing a ton of gold right now. As I'm not going to have time to build any more settlers, so all this food, sure I can get a victory point in Shanghai, so let's try that, 1 victory point. But the rest of it is going further to the goal of get 55 gold this round. And let's see how 12, 48, it's going to be 51. I sell this, and that's 52. I only need 3 more. So burn you, Sell the science. I only need 2 more. Actually, no, that is 55 gold right there. So actually, I'm set. Can't quite reach you, so this is only worth the 2 gold and +1 food for Shanghai. So, just end the turn, and that does it. This was really bad for victory points, because I didn't get very many hexes controlled, building so few settlers. And wow! Is that just every single civilization? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are there only 10 civilizations in the game? Ooh. Wow, that map was so big it put in large map, close start. Okay, is anyone missing? Let's see, going left to right because I should remember this. So we have Greece, they're here. France, Russia, Egypt. Then I want to say it's England, Rome, Aztec, Persia, Arabia. I'm not missing anyone, am I? I think that's everyone. Going off to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, all 10 civilizations spawned in on this map. I don't see that going very often, even on the bots. Wow. Okay, 1 down. Although we are pretty far behind on victory points, so this might not be the best run ever. And 2 to go. Kill a player, control 15 hexes. And with only 15 victory points to work with, I can't get the cheesy 40-point kill a player option. Can't even afford the free city option. This might be a situation of save for the future. Fuel Forge as the campaign card is nice because it basically reads, spend 2 hammers, get 4, which is really useful in early turns. Market Sweep is a late game card, despite what it looks, because the market gets more saturated the later and the more people have sold into it. So, I think, yeah, just hold on to the points, because 15 hexes, this is going to be another low victory point game. Medium far, ooh. It's actually going to be pretty difficult to reach across the map and find a bot to kill. So, this one basically reads, run across the map as quickly as possible, and then build 2 cities. Or, in the relatively unlikely chance that there's only 1 civilization here, it alternatively reads, get to the alternate win condition of get to 200 victory points. So let's see. What do we have to work with? I do like this double luxuries here, and if I know I have to do some fighting, this horses is great. And if I have to go for the alternate 200 victory points one, then the marble is going to be great for getting a ton of victory points on the board. So, build the capital city. Looking at this opening hand, these 2 aren't useful, and then construction goes into granary, which, that's something, but, like, double firewood is unique because you can burn it, means that I can still mulligan this hand. I effectively turned a 2-card hand into a 5-card hand by throwing it away. Although it does hurt to have China's unique organized labor card in the discard. Okay, so the hard part about this is killing an enemy player, eliminating 1. So getting a unit out quickly to find them is nice, but with a far starting distance, that's going to be pretty difficult. This is a situation where I actually want to get a scout out early. In the meantime, I managed to settle on a 2 food space, so in order to grow Beijing 1 more to get a settler out turn 1, I only have to forage a 1 food space, like this. Hunter-gatherers, foraging, let's get going. Now then, I don't have to worry about gold, so let's get all these 4 cards into my hand. Settler is a scout if you play aggressively enough, so I think I can get away with just settler. And then didn't see this guy up front, so warrior isn't going to be powerful enough. I should get a strong card off of mining or some other tech. Is there anything else I can get done with this hand? I'm going to need charge for early game aggression, but I can get away without strength, which means I can play potentially a 2 hammer thing. These all cost 3. These cost 3. This guy costs 4. So I'm going to have to use these luxuries to look for another card to burn. And I know that some people really like Woodsman for early aggression, especially if you run into some weird terrain. But here, I'd rather have the card to burn. And the question is, horses for charge or marble for wonders? I really enjoy Statue of Zeus plays, but in this case, I think that horses is going to end up giving me more value for cheaper, especially if I can mobilize another settler to find the guy. I don't have scout because I burned it, so using settler as my scout via mobilize is really nice. I'm not going to need the horse this turn, so I could potentially... I don't have access to stone, so holding onto writing's not useful. Holding onto mining for access to the marble space is really nice. Holding onto forage is really nice because this is going to get up to 2 food, and then I need 1 more from this space once again in order to grow it. I think holding onto these 2 is valuable, and I'd like to see mobilize again, potentially to basically aggressively scout. So let's try selling the horse and then shuffling. Goodbye, little charge. Hopefully I will not need you. As settler, go forth and discover my enemies. Musically, settler has 6 movement, although scout only has 5, so settler is actually faster to move. So there's a chance that this is a small tiny peninsula, which is a good spot to get a gold city going, but I'm looking for an enemy player, so I need to get as far inland as possible to discover them. As there's Greece way over here, because this isn't an extra hex controlled these spots, it's not one or here, it's like back here, deep in the fog of war. So I'm going to have to build another settler out of here, mobilize them, put them up here, and then hit them. Because settler actually has a pretty good sight range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when most units only have a sight range of 3. So let's find... I'm going to have to hold on to mobilize, which is not in my hands for next turn, and I want settler next turn. Let's go and find them. This is actually a situation where I no longer have a value for pasture. I don't think I even need woodworking. If the game has gotten to the point where I need gunpowder, it's gotten way too far. I can afford to get horseback riding into cavalry, although that's a little bit tricky. See if I can find anything else to work with. Organized labor. This is like the reason to play China. There's the mobilize for next turn, so I can get a settler out and play aggressively. Astronomy. This is going to be very helpful for the economy in case I don't get anything else flowing. Stone. Stone means that the library sitting in my discard pile is suddenly much more valuable. I need the settler for next turn. I don't need the horse. I might need the horse this turn. Let's go looking for library or potentially enough cards to burn for horseback riding. I'm only going to need 1 harbor this game, as it's supposed to be a fast one. You are going to be too slow. There's a slight chance that charge onto a freshly built horseman out of this space does it, especially because I can forge this double food space here. I will need this card next turn. This is interesting because I'm not going to be able to reach Greece's city. It's not in sightline, so I need sightline and then a charge. So yeah, this is mobilize settler time. I could, with 2 more hammers, get the horseman out of Beijing this turn. I think that's worth the risk. So buy the science, use hammers on agriculture, use science on horseback riding, get the horseman going, and then get you closer. So here, now I probably have sightline. If Athens was here, it would have controlled this space. If Athens was here, it would have controlled this space. So Athens is going to be in one of these 2 spots. So actually, holding on to charge for next turn means that I'm going to be able to try and grab it, assuming that the Greece bot doesn't defend. The Greece bot should not have line of sight on this horseman, even with a settler sitting in their city. So hopefully, 3 cards stored, 3 cards used. Let's see how this goes. I would like to have forage here for the settler. I need all 3 of these, yikes. And if I redraw next turn, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to put all 3 of these away. Can I get away without Forge? I'm going to have to sacrifice one of these cards. It's either the Settler play or it's the Charge play. I mean, the Charge play is higher risk, higher reward, while the Settler play is going to be more consistent. Well, let's see if I can just find Foraging the old-fashioned way. End the turn. Actually, it's going to take me 2 turns to win Athens anyway, so I don't build the Settler here. I move it forward as a scout here. And now I know for certain that this Horseman play is going to work. There we go. So there's the player eliminated, and I got the Settler, so that's going to be a guarantee. I just need to control 7 hexes, and guess what? There's more than 7 hexes between these 2 spaces. It will take a past the turn, unless I can get all the way up to... Yeah, there's no way I've got enough hammers and science to get all the way up to advanced tactics to find Conquistador. Ooh, I'm not going to control these hexes, I'm going to burn it. Yeah, so I have to use this Settler next turn. Does mean that I will get a lot more points if I can get the Settler out on a mobilize. Like, here's the horse to mobilize it, but I need to find 1 more food for Beijing. Not maneuvers. I only needed the 1 charge. I don't need Great Lighthouse. Nothing here gets me food, so we're going to be drawing with hammers. Mining? Does mining get me food? No, it does not. Shukonu is not edible. Horse double time speed is not edible. This is a problem. I'm going to sell the science as well to get 1 more card draw. So the farm is food, but it's not food on this turn. I can get 2 more card draws to find a food source. Although, if I had kept the science bottle, I could get up to Granary here. Last draw. Foraging, yes. Wait, does it make it? Oh, the extra gold comes from it and lets me burn the fishing hut for it. There we go. That's some extra victory points to put on the board. And just doesn't matter where I put it, so long as it grabs all the surrounding hexes uncontested. And there is a turn 5 finish, because I have to go and retire round before I burn Athens. Still, because of the nature of these ones, I'm pretty far behind on victory. But that's a new one. Huh. Haven't seen that one before. As, time to burn Athens. Claim this. Claim that. You are not going to be able to get any more cards. You are not going to get anything more, so the only thing I can do is build the Hanging Gardens, as I burned literally every single other card in the entire deck. Hanging Gardens on Xi'an is going to make sure Vats grows next turn. Can I find some food to forage? Shanghai is growing. Beijing won't grow, but I don't think I've got a double food tile because this one's out of range. Well, this one will get it. So now, Beijing grew. And maybe I can find it again. Do I have enough hammers to just play this again? Nope, 1 shy. Well, at least I can dump all these luxuries in order to try and get some victory points. So it's going to take 3 culture to get one of these open sections. So 1, 2, 3, and 3 culture to get one of these open tiles. That should get a tile grab on both of these if I count it properly, which, we'll see if I can count. One tile? Huh. So, Xi'an got 1 tile grow from the 3 culture, but why didn't Shanghai? So Shanghai stored 3. Oh, because there's a forest in the way, these costed 4 instead of the normal 3. Like, see how these all cost 3 by themselves? But because there's a ocean in the way blocking it, this one cost 4. Ah, so I feel like the long-term average of saying that a tile cost 8 makes sense, especially when you have these ocean tiles. Sometimes you get an early city where they cost 3 or 4. Oftentimes you'll get an ocean tile where these cost 6, but usually ocean tiles are going to cost like 8 or 9. So in general, saying that some tiles are going to be 8 culture on average to grab a tile is like a pretty good rule of thumb. It's usually better than that, but oftentimes you'll find these far away tiles. Especially when you've dumped a ton of culture into a city, the late game tiles are going to be like 12, 14, 16, 18 due to the distance and the difficult terrain separating them. Like you have to go through all of this water before you can even start putting culture down on this one. So the existence of these late game expensive tiles alongside these early game cheap tiles, I feel like saying 8 on average is a just really good rule of thumb for culture. But early game, 3, unless you've got bad terrain when it's 4. Okay, one more, and because we're 50 points behind the turn ticker, we're going to have to get for the alternate win condition of, oh no, you can't, it's just 160, so this is just a race against time to get to 160. So the single most important way to get points on the board is to get more settlers, and then the second most valuable one is a high value wonder that helps you out early, notably the Hanging Gardens or Temple of Diana, although I will oftentimes grab the Statue of Zeus for its ability to conquer the bots quickly, which is what you need in the single player modes. Marcus Sweep's the late game card, but because this is a rush against time, I need early game. This effectively is going to give you extra hammers into whatever hand you draw it with. You're going to be able to play about one more card on average in whatever turn you draw it. And let's see how quickly I can get to 160. The other way to play this one is to go super slow. If you can get to 200 victory points before turn 20 on at least the second one, maybe not the first one, but at least the second time, then you could potentially create these really huge runs, but they're going to take forever, as you're going to have like 15 turn games for those first 2 fast maps. And let's take a look at what we have to work with. My instincts are that I like this spawn, but like, it's a little bit marginal. Like here, getting lucky and rolling for the hut, if you don't get food out, it's going to be a really big struggle in order to get your first settler online. Here is probably the best one, assuming that you can get the other holy site in a reasonable time frame. A weird option is as China, go here. The city is going to end up working one of these 2 tiles slowly, but because I don't actually have to work any of these tiles in order to get the China +1 hammer bonus, it might be fine. This one is the I must get a settler out on turn 1 option, because it's the one tile where you don't have to get fishing into foraging in order to get a settler out. That said, I don't think this hand is strong enough. Organized labor is the only good thing here, so burn the firewood, redraw it. I'm not going to be able to find a wonder on turn 1. So because I'm going to be looking for fishing anyways, fishing on this tile looks good. Double food, access to these guys for faster victory points. The culture they're producing, this is probably going to be a 12 to 16 turn game. They're probably going to grab somewhere between 2 and 4 tiles each. So here, ooh, that is the single best tile in the entire starting area. Let's go find it. Burn, redraw. So there's the mining. This is wonderful. Although here, there's no reason to hold on to the firewood unless it's like the last thing you do on a turn. Make sure that I can grow this city. My goal is to get both this mine out and to get the settler out, which is 5 plus 4. I might have to burn a lot of cards to do that. Given I have Fuel Forge, which is a lot of cards to burn. Look at all those cards to burn. 1, 2, 3. I might want to hold on to the 4th one for next turn. So with this mine right here, getting a ton of stone and luxuries, I need 2 more hammers to get the settler out. Against players, I really like holding on to strength long term, but I'd rather have a turn 1 settler than a turn 10 strength. And then with 1 more to burn, I would like to hold on to this, but I don't think it's possible. Settler. Ooh, these are 2 really good tiles. The double getting the food buff onto forests is massive. I would also like to grab this hut. There's a chance that there's a free settler in this for even more acceleration. I think the play is to move the settler here, and then with the hammers I'll get on next turn, use Pioneering Spirit in order to put down the city here without losing too much tempo. The remaining cards in the deck are all technology, and I can't burn any of them, so even though I could draw through with this luxuries, I don't think it's worth it. So I'm generating 2 culture here from the Holy Site and the Palace, and then these are going to be 4 culture cost spaces because of the difficult terrain in between them. If I drop 2 of these luxuries here into Beijing, it'll grab one of these in a single turn. If I got lucky, you'll get this one, but there's 3 potential tiles you could grab, and you can't really control which one it is. So hold on to Pioneering Spirit next turn to put the city here, because these are wonderful tiles. Like double food, triple hammers when you have the lumber mill on. You have to hold on to lumber mill as well. It means I'm selling or putting both these luxuries down. So this will get another tile the following turn. Or I could get more card draw. That's actually an interesting decision. I think I take the risk that I grab this one luckily, and I'll get more luxuries to work with next turn. So I think the card draw is going to be more valuable right now. So let's see the next turn. That might have been a mistake, not getting the high quality cards that are in the discard into the bin. Although stone onto writing, getting a library online is really nice. I did miss out on the Holy Site this turn. So 50-50. I'm going to store 2. So if I can get 2 luxuries onto Beijing, I'll grab another tile. Oh wow, a giant pile of marble from that one. Ooh. So I don't think I'm going to be able to spend all this marble this turn. Marble crashed in price, actually. But I could grab this hut. Yeah, I actually want to burn through 2 cards in order to get to Statue of Zeus, which is going to cost me 2 for Mysticism. I'm going to get a science for burning a card for writing. I need 2 for Mysticism, a 3rd one for Paganism, and then 2 more to build the Statue of Zeus with marble. So I need 5 hammers, and I still want to do something else this turn with Pioneering Spirit. So I'm going to have to draw into it, 1, 2, 3, 4, using the Z button shortcut on the keyboard to make it faster. I don't think I see anyone close by, so the woodsman. I don't think this terrain is bad enough to justify a woodsman rush. And this would be nice to get with a fishing hut, but I'm not settling. I'm not going to move the settler to this spot with 0 food access, so this fishing hut's actually too slow. So let's get the statue online. Who's my favorite statue? You are. And then I'm going to use this first luxury to shuffle, because both Temple of Diana and Library and Normal Temple, all of these use either stone or marble that I'm holding on to. This gives me a better chance of drawing into them for the rest of the turn. So Organize the Labor. Get another chance at drawing Organized Labor, which is that right here. This is the reason why I said China is going to be harder to play than the other backup civilizations I was looking at. Understanding that little dance around Organized Labor. So let's go looking for more cards. That I can draw 2 more. Glorious Project. So pyramids here would actually be really nice. Get a ton of iron going. Although I didn't draw pyramids. Woodworking's wonder is a bit too deep. Mathematics is wonder. The Chichen Itza, although I think it costs 3 hammers. Although, yeah, 3 hammers effectively from the Glorious Project. So Chichen Itza. So I'd have to get 6. I'd have to burn 5 cards to make this happen this turn. I don't know if I can burn 5 cards, especially because I want to spend 2 of those on Pioneering Spirit. Potentially more of this on mine. Because the whole reason I shuffled was so that I can get marble-based stuff onto the field. With this, I'm generating enough culture that I don't need to dump the luxuries in the culture. I'm looking for cards to burn to get stuff on the field right now. Berserker is useful with ranged units, but if I don't see anyone in my immediate vicinity to fight, there's no point in playing it. Pioneering Spirit is the next most important card. If I get lucky onto this hut, I can potentially draw a ton of stuff, but that's the only good thing the city is providing. So let's see. Free resources, more marble? What am I supposed to do with all this marble? And there's marble on the market as well. Yikes. So another reason I shuffled was to get library going. Library is not only producing culture to grab tiles, but this science +2 is effectively +2 production per turn, but you can save for future turns. It's so important for saving, they even put a permanent graphic inside the storage for it. Can I get anything else going this turn? I think the answer is no without burning something important. I can burn charge, but that only gives me one of the hammers I need to get anything done. So, settler is the fastest way to get victory points on the board, so save you for next turn. I would like to get a harbor out, but actually, I didn't found a city here. This is like, pretty, well, it could work. It has a triple food tile. I can actually found the city there. And in the unlikely chance I actually get pyramids, the bots tend to value pyramids rather highly, so it's hard to get your hands on it. Yeah, this is normally a terrible spot to settle for most civilizations, but this triple food space is going to save it. So I actually can settle you there. It means I can hold on to the... I can hold on to the harbor, but this is actually a great lighthouse game for the victory points. Ooh. Big thing is I have to clear up some space in my inventory, and I think the marble is the way. It's because I'm going to have more marble coming. It is a bit painful putting all of this in the discard, but in fact, it's so much in the discard pile that I might actually consider not holding on to Settler just to draw more cards next turn. Actually, the play is hold on to Astronomy, get the Harbor, use the Harbor's gold boost in order to draw through cards. Because Organized Labor is going to be in the deck, and actually, Foraging is now in the deck. This is why China requires practice, is understanding the shuffle time under multiplayer timer pressure. Here in single player, where I can take all the time I want, yeah, that would take a long time to find that line. This way, Astronomy, find both Foraging and Organized Labor, and I can actually be able to draw into this again. Yeah, that's the way to do this. There are too many technologies in that hand to burn them, and the Glorious Project's value is in playing it, not burning it. With this, ooh, Wonder, use for the marble, drawing into stuff. Oh, that's a nice hand. But we're looking deeper, so let's draw into Organized Labor. And every time Organized Labor goes in, well, there's only one card left, so there's not much point in shuffling. So Forge first. Yeah, this triple food space saves Xeon from being a terrible founding spot on a hill. Most civilizations can't get away with founding spot on a hill unless you get lucky with a triple food space. Then, although Astronomy into Great Lighthouse is a good play, Temple of Diana is going to end up growing more culture hexes. Let's see if it updates in live. So this costs 6. This costs 3 and 6. So 4, 3, 6. Let's see what Temple of Diana does. Let's see if it updates live. Oop. Okay, so it's going to update next turn, hopefully. So let's take a look at 9668. Let's try and remember that, 9668. And because I spent that stone, it's not a good idea to try going for Great Lighthouse. We'll see if I can shuffle into it. Harbor. 1 food. Does actually help Xeon get a 1 space taller, because Xeon's basically now trying to generate money between that harbor and some open spaces. 1, 2, 3. Let's draw. We got the Settler back. This one, the Divine Decree, is nice for long-term games, which is exactly what I'm going for. But here, I'd rather have the Hammer to play out a Settler, which is still the single best way to get cards on the board and victory points out. That I'm okay burning Divine Decree despite its value. I can draw a little bit more. Are there any marble-based wonders I have to get into? I can get into philosophy and marble-based wonders, so let's see if I can find philosophy. There's the Glorious Project. That's one way to do it. Weirdly, I'm saturated on harbors. I've only got this one coastal city. You're going to be coastal as well, but that's going to take 1-2 turns to happen. It might be worth it to burn the harbor, just to get the Great Lighthouse out. Although, nah, the more important card to burn is the warehouse, as yes, it's uniquely good for China, but what's more uniquely good is just wonders in general. If I build the Great Lighthouse here, I'm basically saying that I'm going to get the pyramids. Actually, I don't even have to say that because the 1-2 iron sources will be good enough. Because getting a farm onto this space is going to make Xi'an really sing. So that's money. And then if I wasn't going to find the marble anyways, let's get you some more culture. Boom. Because the temple scales with every holy site in your entire empire, triple up. That is 3 happiness and 3 culture for just a single marble. That is hugely valuable. Like, the temple goes from being a pretty mediocre card in most sections to having 2 holy sites and now becomes one of the most efficient and useful cards in the entire game. Let's see if there's anything else I can get out of this hand. Masonry, I'm not going to need axemen this turn, so that's one way to spend my science. I don't think I need scouts, so if I can burn both you and the axemen, potentially draw something else. Mine onto marble means I can use it next turn. I would like to get a library out. Got 1 ticking. This would let me get even more, but burning organized labor is really painful. Let's try seeing if I can get a better hand set up for next turn by storing stuff. Well, I haven't found an enemy yet, so I can burn charge. I would really like to have the mine out. I can get another 2 hammers out. Yeah, actually, it is time to burn the harbor. It's going to take too long to get another one online, because I can take woodworking. China has a unique ranged unit, so I don't need the archer. And because I haven't seen anyone to fight, and there's an extra copy of charge under tactics, I can get rid of you. And here, the marble previously was just a gift from getting lucky on the huts. Now, this can be a core part of my game plan, building up marble every single turn. If I get lucky, actually no, there's no luck involved. I will draw philosophy next turn, and I'm going to get 1 science, 2 science from burning something. So I can actually get all the way up to either the Parthenon or Hagia Sophia this turn. I think the Parthenon, because the bots don't value Hagia Sophia as much as players do in multiplayer. But the Great Lighthouse comes off the field early. It's a good thing I built it this turn, otherwise they would have gotten it as well. So this is actually really good. It's hard to get this many victory points so soon. 50 on turn 4 is actually an incredibly fast start. So I don't see any extremely valuable resources here, although that's partially due to the bad terrain blocking. So just getting more money and more cards on the board is valuable. As I'm playing China, this mine is producing an extra hammer every single turn, even if I'm not necessarily working the tile. So, like, getting lumber mill and mine onto the field is the most valuable thing I can be doing on my turns. So, this doesn't strike me as a road game. Yeah, Shanghai is spending a little bit of extra money to cost it, but I'm only getting 1 stone per turn, and road costs 2 stone to go through difficult terrain. So you can use stone for flat terrain, but you need 2 in order to go for this, and I don't think that's worth the hammers to shave off 2 gold per turn from Shanghai. So burn the road for the extra science, and what I talked about last turn, the Parthenon, getting the more marble uses out. Putting Parthenon onto a space I'm not going to have any use for. And then let's use the other marble I pulled in order to get that triple culture buff going. Xi'an's value is related to how many water tiles it can work. It's going to have to go through all 3 of these first because water costs extra. But as soon as it gets this one, that's going to be a lot of extra gold flowing. Given I did burn the fishing hut, so it's not going to be insane amounts of gold, but it will be going. And then food. Xi'an and Shanghai are both working high value spaces. So it doesn't really matter who I forage for the 1 food bonus right here. It's more about the money I make by doing that. The rest of this hand, animal husbandry, Getting a farm on Xeon is going to be getting a lot more money by just filling up spaces it can work. Although, it's not going to become high value until I can find the lumber mill, which is in the deck I should start drawing. Settler, still the single most important card for getting units on the board. Library. It's production, effectively. So I don't actually have a good space for any pastures. The reason to build this would be to get a farm here. This could be a game where I burn animal husbandry. Mathematics goes into education right now, although I don't have... Next turn, I'm going to have the stone in order to make university a good play. So this isn't worth it right now, but it will be worth it next turn. So Xeon is building 4 culture per turn. It has to go through 12 culture to get that nice space. Dropping all this onto Xeon for 1 more space of speed would be nice, but I don't think it's as nice as simply drawing more cards. Let's see it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here. This is now. With this space available, now building a farm for Xeon makes a lot of sense. That said, it's going to cost 2 for animal husbandry, 2 for agriculture, 3 more. So 7? I'm not going to be able to burn 3 cards this turn or pay for that. Pyramids is nice, but it's no longer mandatory, and I'm going to be spending this stone next turn anyways, so goodbye. And I'm going to use that hammer to spend on organized labor, which is the reason to play China. And with organized labor, Shanghai keeps wanting to work this space, so getting an extra hammer here, in addition to the China always-on hammer passive, is really nice. If I can find some sort of 3 food, I don't think I will be able to this turn because I have to spend hammers and won't be able to afford granary. But now that Xeon has this high-value space to work in the on the coast, off the coastline, going up to agriculture will be really valuable for Xeon next turn. I don't need metalworking that urgently. Getting metalworking for jeweler, of all things, for more economy is nice, especially because I don't really have land-based resources and I burned the sea-based one. 16 hammers, I can justify it. I've got the storage space. Feels a bit weird holding onto this many cards. But I don't need tactics, I don't need a unit right now. I think this is the only unit in the deck that's not settler, actually. Construction into granary would be nice for Xeon especially. Yeah, why not? So like Xeon is getting all of this set up. I finally see another one of the civilizations in this game. Because it's single player, it's going to be a bot, but we finally saw Russia. They exist. They are on the map. And ooh, this difficult terrain was blocking my line of sight earlier. This is another way to get even faster, more acceleration for wonders onto the field. And finally I found a neighbor. Bot's going to be able to settle this turn and steal the stone from me. But I have the Statue of Zeus, so I could potentially strike back at the bot. I did burn my first charge, so I'm not necessarily going to be able to find it this turn. That's tricky. Yeah, tactics is in the discard, but oh, nothing's in the discard. Time is actually a lot of fun to play. Maybe I should have been playing them sooner. Let's see. So there's no stone or marble on the market, but I can get the second one here. Actually, instead of doing a farm for Xeon, I could actually get the Hanging Gardens, because, yeah, the only wonder I haven't gotten is a second copy of the Great Lighthouse. So here, forging the stone. Actually, I need that stone in order to get education online. That's going to be tricky. So, because Mobilize doesn't... Mobilize does work on settlers, but nothing else. So if I'm going to be building another city, then buying the horse and going for settler is valuable. Because these temples are producing so much happiness, like look, I've got 3 We Love You bonuses out of Shanghai already. I'm not going to need Hereditary Rule. That's my first science burn for the turn. Is it more important to spend this stone on the Hanging Gardens or onto more science inside of mathematics? So I save 8 hammers this way, and I save 8 hammers this way, so the Hanging Gardens is actually more valuable. So Hanging Gardens onto this space. It fed Beijing, but Xi'an went from having 2 turns to grow to only 1 turn to grow. So this is going to like accelerate Xi'an about the same as if I had built the farm, while also accelerating all my other cities, especially Guangzhou, which was going to be 1 shy next turn because Shanghai is taking this triple food space. Actually, Shanghai is also taking this space. No, get me my hammers. So with that, this 1 marble saves me 4 hammers, so spending 3 hammers on the monument is getting me more culture. Monument's worth it if you can catch at least 2 cities, preferably 3 in it. So if I put a monument here, I'm basically saying I'm going to build a city on one of these 2 spaces, which is actually entirely fine. I think it's this one, so I can build a lumber mill here using China passive. Because, like, Shanghai doesn't need this much food. Guangzhou needs the food more importantly, so I'm going to move you here. So if I build another city here, which is actually a really good idea, then this monument becomes an incredibly good play. And in order to get that settler up, I'm going to mobilize them with this horse on the market. Normally I burn mobilize the moment I get Statue of Zeus, but it helps settlers out a ton. This guy is going to build next turn, so I need to find tactics next turn. In the meantime, I can do the economy boost this turn. So this is happening next turn because I'm gathering 1 stone and 1 marble for university. This is happening this turn for more money, as well as effectively 5 gold per turn, 1 from the underlying building and 2 from the resource. I would like to get this granary out, but I don't think I can afford it. Xi'an should be getting enough culture now. Although, yeah, with the temple going, as well as the culture from the Great Lighthouse, Xi'an should be plentiful. So, this last couple of hammers, I can effectively get a science. This is effectively saving... I spend 3 hammers up front in order to save 2 hammers next turn. I think I'd rather have that than the gold. Oh, because I moved this one manually, the game held this one in place, so Shanghai is actually not going to grow this turn. So, granary onto it next turn will be really valuable. Although, frankly, granary in the discard when I want a temple onto the new city, as well as the melee units that are showing up in the discard. Shuffle time. So, goodbye construction, I hardly knew you. Sitting there all alone in the discard pile. Here, with Egypt fighting the Arabia bot, Mecca should be relatively easy to conquer, especially because the settler ran away, stopping this. Although the difficult terrain on both the north and south sides means it's going to take a hot minute, especially because I can't just build a road through this to bypass half of it. Oh, look at all those tiles that the culture is claiming. These 2 holy sites getting multiplied by the temples is doing wonders. So you are here to build these 2 mines when they come up. The first jeweler is worth it, but you need 10 population to get the second one doubled, which, oh, I do have 10 population. That said, unless I get a mine on... Marbles on the field, but I need a second marble to make this worth holding on to. I'm not getting enough stone right now to justify the catapult, especially when Chukonu is such an effective unit. Let's see some more cards. And because supposedly organized labor is that good, shuffle it. On average, it was going to draw all 13 cards, and then draw half of 13 cards. So it would have taken an average 19 cards to draw into organized labor again. By shuffling it here, now it's going to take on average 8 cards instead. So there goes organized labor. I will have enough iron to justify both of these, but I don't need them right now, so goodbye Spearman. Chichen Itza is expensive because I've been building so many wonders. That's a maybe. Monument catching another 3 cities here is super valuable. So yeah, here, this space. So I want to play the monument here, but not until after I have played out University. Because University is the single best industrial card in the game right now, because these 3 science bottles is effectively 6 hammers worth every single turn. Maybe not the best spot to put it. 3 culture is significant, and all of this water tiles cost extra. So, like, maybe not the best spot to put the university, but I don't think it matters that much, especially because I burned the harbor, so it's not going to be showing up here anyways. Only draw until I hit 6 in case I do want to play the Chichen Itza. Pasture. Wow, this space way out here? That's what got caught by the pasture? Even if I don't use this food for anything else, this is effectively money per turn. I would like to use it for something else, but we're going to have to see if I can draw it into it. This is too far away to forage. Yeah, that's the only food here is the only other food space, and it's blocked by a scout. And oh wow, I forgot about these 2 spaces. There's so much stuff going on, it's so easy to forget stuff. This 1 marble is cheap, and this one saves 4, while this one saves 3. So this temple is more valuable. This monument hitting 3 cities is also very valuable. 6 culture from that play. Ooh. So I want to see if I can conquer Mecca, but I need food in that city in order to play it. 2 food I just got off the pasture plays right into that. So this puts me in a position to step over and attack Mecca, and there's a good chance that if this horse archer moves up, the Vanguard AI, because this guy attacks after he moves, always prioritizes cities. If it moves to here or here, it's going to attack Mecca and not my swordsman. If it moves here to here, then it attacks the swordsman. But that we'll get to that when we get to that. I need more cards. I can afford to play Chichen Itza, so I'm going to draw 1 less than that. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4. This horse is really cheap. I'm not producing any horse pastures right now, so it's going to make charge expensive when I do find it, which is... Tactics is in the deck, so I'm going to get to it eventually. But here, getting this space online is going to be very valuable, and I'll be able to get a unit out of the city for dealing with the very buff scout. This is the thing that the bots like doing. Whenever they draw a strength buff card, they always put it down no matter what. In this case, the scout is the no matter what part. Not going to be able to find food, so settler. Use this horse to mobilize you. Put that. Probably not getting the Chichen Itza this turn. Where is the mine? The mine is in the deck, so it's actually possible if I forge the stone and then build the mine here. So let's see if I can find it. Ooh, wow, science is going to be so valuable. Next turn is going to sell for 3, most likely. So this is the last turn that... Even though I built the university with the intention of teching up fast, I'm probably going to just sell all the science for 3 gold each next turn. And I did find it, actually. So, stone. And then forge the stone. There's a cheap Chichen Itza. Its special is removing the maintenance cost from cities. So this, patching Luoyang? I don't know how to pronounce that one. Nanjing and Guangzhou is going to get the most cities possible inside the cost radius. It doesn't update till next turn, though. Oh, and I forgot to check up on this culture later, but obviously it's just chewing through it due to the Temple of Diana culture buff. Wait, Temple of Diana? Where'd I put you? Temple of Diana culture buff. Reduces the amount of culture required to grow. So, Agrarian Society, I think, is actually too slow at this point, and Forge has been doing wonders for me, so actually burn Agrarian Society. With University, University costs 8 to get you 3 science. Well, this costs you 4 to get 1, so Library is outclassed by University right now. I do want to get rid of this Scout, so it might be worth it to just get the Chugonu walking this way so that I can get access to the food tile down here, because food has been a problem this game. With that, I wasn't able to find more iron, so goodbye. And Theology, I'd like to play 1 round of Craftsmanship before going into Theology. So I think this is a situation of just let the hand go. I do want Tactics next turn. And the deck is just large enough I can't guarantee drawing it. But if I hold on to Organized Labor, I should be able to get through a lot of cards, even if I don't mulligan my hand next time. This is going to put more cards in my deck, especially when I'm going to be getting so much science out of this university. It's better to just save the hammers, turning it into gold, than it is to put more cards in the deck and slow down draws. Every card in the deck effectively costs you 2 gold per shuffle. So this 21 card deck right now is a bit high right to work with. Let's see, where's the fighting happening? This guy moved, is still in range of the archer, and this guy did not contest me. I have no idea what's on Mecha. So charging over the hill in the blind only has maybe a 50% chance of taking the city, while taking Medina is guaranteed. Do I take the risk? Well, I have to get to 160 victory points. I'm not going to be able to get to it this turn, and Mecha is nice, but it's not pouring with wonders or holy sites, so actually Medina is going to be more consistent and safer. So let's do tactics in the charge. There are no more horses on the market, and I haven't found a horse pasture to work with yet. I'm just have to pay for charge the old-fashioned way. And then let's make sure we get rid of the Egypt nuisance. So charge lets you attack twice, so this will take out the archer and then take the city. So it looks like I would have gotten it if I... Huh, that's odd. I didn't see the axeman or the catapult there, but then when I went... That's a weird interaction, actually. I know that there's a bug in the game that you can kind of see into Fog of War if you click on a space, and the developer is aware of it. It's going to get patched, but like that specific one's a bit of a weird way interacting there. Okay, so the whole point about putting this guy here is to have access to these high-value Ripple Hammer +1 from China buff spaces on the food tiles, because getting that a second time is, well, the whole point about this hand. So organized labor, put the lumber mill and the organized labor back in the deck. China. So you. This scout is blocking the production out of this space. Dengu is going to want to work both of these tiles, so freeing them up. And then the whole point about going into agriculture, like 5 turns ago, was to put this very farm down to make Xi'an get huge with all of these high-value gold spaces next to the Great Lighthouse. Took me long enough to get there. So Medina is going to be mine next turn. I should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just shuffled charge back into the deck. If I can find charge again, horseback riding comes out here, charges Mecha. That's a huge, so let's see if I can go and find it. You're taking up space. I want to play you once before swapping over to State Religion. 18 culture is massive. Like, that's basically... Like, this is currently producing 5 culture. That's 3 turn acceleration on Beijing. Now then, let's go looking for charge. I can draw 6 cards. Let's draw 6 cards. Didn't find charge with that set. And I can put the other pasture here to draw more cards. That makes Settler nice for next turn. This is going to end up with 1, 2, 3 food next turn, so I can sell this food. Got 1 marble to buy. This has been really useful, but I think I'm out of triples. Oh, I've got 1 more triple city space. I'm not going to be able to get the Great Library this turn. I might hold on to it just because I can get more victory points later. I think 1 marble, this monument, 1 marble, this university is going to get more culture expansion. Like, this city is now getting 4 culture off the monument and the university. Pathfinder is not going to be needed this game. I need to draw more cards, I need more money. The way you get more money is to go foraging. Neon's getting big. Draw a card. Who needs luxuries? No one needs luxuries because I've been getting so much marble happiness out, so I can just sell all of this. Only so many cards left in the deck, and I keep forgetting that I have the Parthenon, so I can look ahead. Now I get exactly 3 cards. Boom. So, with this... Oh, I don't actually have horses to get the unit out. So I don't need horseback riding. I need logistics. Top card. Into Forced March. Off of a unit that I can build for free or cheap. Hey, look at that. Swordsman, second from the top. So I don't have any horses, so goodbye. Yeah, I just have not found horses this entire game. And then, second from the top was the swordsman. Build here. I want to get a little... Holding onto the stone for next turn might get me a wonder? Actually, I think all the stone-based wonders have been built, so it's actually just... Yeah, all the stone-based wonders have been built, so it's just University, Barracks, and Great Wall. So I can sell the stone for a big chunk of change and forced march this guy over the mountains. Oh, there was the axeman there. Huh, that was weird. So I got the vision for an instant, but immediately took it away, but it got the information. So when I clicked on the space, it got it. I can get a forge out, actually, but it's going to be the only thing I can do on this turn on Nanjing to build a second unit here. This swordsman's going to die from the catapults. And this is a difficult terrain spot, so I'm actually going to need forced march again to do that a second time. Okay, that was worth the risk, and the risk was taken. So I think I held onto the settler so I didn't have to redraw it in case it showed up. But I would like to build another settler, but I'm actually running out of good spaces. Like, this is mediocre. This is okay. There's not much going on here. This is getting into Russia territory. Like, the best space here is blocked. Like, I think this is the last good spot for a settler. So let's put one out of Guangzhou. If I can burn one more card. It's a great library, I guess. Then that's the last settler. Both Mobilize and Settler are getting burned the next time I see them. I would still like to get a granary onto Xi'an to get it really big, but it's taking me forever to find it. With that, Lumbermill, Mine, Theology, I want all three of those cards, so hold on to Organized Labor for next turn. Actually, hold on to Temple as well. I couldn't play it this turn because I used the marble elsewhere, but here, Temple, Nanjing is slowly losing happiness. It goes into positive happiness. It's going to get a bunch of We Love You bonuses like all these other cities have been getting as soon as I put the temple down. So, boop. Send the turn. Yep. Swordsman died to the catapults. Ooh, the city defense buff saves it, and I still take Medina this way. So, it is crazy hard in multiplayer to get 100 points by turn 8. I only pulled it off with access to the campaign cards. But, like, it's like a miniature achievement getting 100 points on turn 8, which just pulled up. Like, yeah, that feels good. Look at all those tiles being grabbed. Ooh, all of this over here from the craftsmanship put on Beijing. 111 on turn 8. Yeah, the campaign cards, especially being able to get these early wonders out, is the reason I was able to do that. Temple of Diana in particular has been giving me the most points over time by grabbing huge amounts of culture tiles. But like turn 8, quote, win, unquote, with 100 points is really hard to pull off. The Medina can build a unit out of here. Because I've got Statue of Zeus, that unit can do something, getting space towards Mecca. It won't be able to take Mecca this turn, but it's going to be able to put pressure in that direction. Ooh. Actually, I don't really have any more good uses for stone, so stone, use this barracks. 1, 2, 3 spaces, take Mecca with a charge, which is going to be somewhere in the deck, which I probably can find with this much money. Medina is the only place that needs luxury, so give Medina enough to make them not hate me anymore. And then I'm not going to need any more settlers this game, so I can sell the rest of the food, because both of these can build a unit each. I have no more spots to put a pasture. I can only mobilize settlers. Getting another craftsmanship out before having to swap over to state religion is really nice, but let's see if I can build anything else here. Lumber mill. This space is going to be the next one that Beijing will work when it grows because of how valuable it is when I put this down. Even though I think it would be better spent on Chengdu over here. Probably butchering that pronunciation, but I'm trying. Mine onto this iron. It's kind of silly how late this iron got online. Now I can get this craftsmanship for an even bigger boost of 21. Temple onto Medina solves all of its happiness issues over the long term. Draw more cards. There's the charge. Here's a unit. Maybe not the best unit. Ooh, I can find the best unit because by not building construction this entire time, it basically becomes this like wonder card of, do you need defense? Do you need food? Do you need production? Or do you need more happiness? Do you need a ranged unit? Do you need roads? Or do you need musketmen? There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different options I could have played off of that construction because I held onto it for so long. It kind of became this like multi-part tutor. And I saved those 10 cards of space, 20 gold of drawing cards every single shuffle by not playing it until the last moment when I needed it. Now I can put the strongest unit in the game and then charge it as soon as it gets over the mountains. It's not going to be able to take the space because Berserker won't do it. Ooh, the hut actually gave a horse to make it for free. But I don't have the Berserker in order to actually get the second unit kill here, but this is probably going to get it next turn. And then from here, I'm going to need another charge, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Forced March will actually get from Medina to Mecca, so I have to find Forced March. The Musketman's the top card of the deck again because you built it in a barracks. I only need the 2 universities I've built so far, especially because I'm looking to transition into theology right now. So Forced March, there it is, 3rd card in the deck. But I have to play something first before I use it. I think I am now officially saturated on monuments because there's no more spot to get all 3 of these cities here. Ooh, no. The repart monument here is massive. Like, look at this. 4 happiness and culture building up out for that. Ooh, that's actually a really good spot. And finally, because we're working this tile, it's no longer a good idea to forge there. I think finally Forge has done its job, except this one trick right here with the whales. See how this one's glowing slightly? It means that you can move this worker for free compared to an old term worker that costs a hammer to do. So you can move this worker off the space, then forge it for 3 gold and the luxuries, then move it back on. You can only do that if it's the city grew in population this very turn, because fresh workers, old term workers, that it cost an extra hammer. Anyways, the whole point about that was to find Forced March. And, I don't remember getting the second horse, but I'll take it. And then I'm trying to do this efficiently, so Swordsman, Nanjing did the population for this Musketman. Now Dina, with this Swordsman, is going to Forced March the fresh Swordsman. And you're going to get the flanking bonus here. And Mecha is mine. And even get the flank attack with the catapult to take away the guy. Huh. So Arabia actually built a farm onto that space just in time for it to get culture claimed by the sheer amount of monuments being put out. That's neat. Because I'm taking so many culture, I'm actually going to be outside my territory very often. Like even here, attacking Heliopolis can be in my territory and not get the buff out of it. I can only build 1 unit per turn here. I can, in theory, build a second unit here, which is not Settler. I'm saturated on Settler spots, at least for now. There's probably another good spot down here, but I don't think the game's going to last that long. 1, 2, 3, although it's not going to be able to make it to Heliopolis this turn, especially because I don't have a horse pasture to get cavalry out. What else can I do this turn? Frankly, farm is too slow. You're growing, you're growing, you're growing. This is a good farm spot, but it was an even better monument spot. You already have farms. So the farm is actually too slow to get victory points on the board. What else is in the deck? Advanced Tactics saves me a turn on Mecha. Although, I don't know how important that is, because I'm just wasting this 1 turn of the Swordsman. I don't think I can get 160 this turn. Especially for how many hammers this is going to cost. While Military Dictatorship, by selling all the luxuries, if I crazy burn, I can get Arc de Triomphe out. But if I do that, I won't be able to get the East Door. So let's see how valuable Mecha is. Can I afford to wait a turn for this? From the buildings in the city, I can. So Mecha's worth 3 points for the population, and then 1 point for every 2 tiles it's got. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's worth 9 victory points. That's not enough to justify the Conquistador play. I would like to get some pressure on the Heliopolis here, although I don't know how I'm going to find it. I ran out of science bottles. I only have 2 when I wanted a 3rd one for theology. Although, holding on to theology for next turn, and then using the Sioux marble from the mine as well as holding on to this one, we'll be able to get out at least a monastery for more culture claims. Cannon is great and cheaper than Chukonu, although I don't think it'll matter in this one, because I can build the Chukonu now and I can't build the cannon now. I don't know if I need another musketman this game, because getting points on the board is more important than fighting, so I'm going to burn you. Currency for next turn. I should have enough science to do both theology and currency for both a monastery to claim culture tiles from the Russia player, as well as the East India Company probably here to get at maximum. East India Company's 14 victory points is probably all I need to get a probably turn 10 win. That's going to feel good if I get that. Here, Arctic if I sell all the food and burn out, I should be able to build it this turn. So let's start selling some food. Mine, do I get anything useful out of the mine? I think I do. This mine, right, I'm going to burn the forge because when I go into currency, into industrialism, that's going to burn the forge anyways. I might as well get the hammer out of it now. I need to burn one more card and then sell a bunch of stuff, specifically the iron. Although, if I put this, I'll get another temple out. I don't think that's important enough. Tricky decisions, tricky decisions. Yeah, I'm going to say that the Arctic Triumph is worth more at this point, because, like, here, already has a temple. This is the only spot that makes sense, actually, because I'm not getting another holy site off of Mecca. Actually, I can wait on the Arctic Triumph for next turn. So hold on to you as well. So this, I want more culture. I'm putting the monastery here to grab all of these spaces. And in order to justify that, this gets me the marble back for next turn to actually do the theology play. So now, because we've got 2 universities, I can sell the science just to draw cards. Let's get 6 more. Crossbowman is just Chukonu, but worse. I'm going to get 2 marble next turn, and I believe I am actually for real this time saturated on monuments, because this is the only other good spot for a monument, and I already put a building there. This is another, nope, too far from Medina, so goodbye. You've done a really good job. This is probably the best monument game I've had in a long time, but you've done your job. So if there's only going to be 2 turns left, this might be worth 3 victory points at most, 1 when I build it, and I can get 2 grows next turn. That's questionable if it's worth it. Especially when I can burn it for Notre Dame. Yeah. It's rarely worth it to build a building twice in 1 turn, even though barracks is kind of broken this game, and on this patch. So Notre Dame, I'm getting 2 iron going. So I need 1 more. Forced March, are you going to be valuable? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even this Forced March won't be able to make it to Heliopolis. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A Forced March from this barracks won't make it either. A Forced March from Nanjing should, but without Conquistador, I'm not convinced that's worth the effort, so I think I can go without Forced March, meaning that Notre Dame. This is one of my favorite wonders because it affects every single city. So that 2 happiness is getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to get 20 happiness per turn out of that. And if the cities are already happy, which they are because I've been building so many temples in them to keep them up, as well as these monuments to keep their super happy, like +8 already, +8 including it. So this 20 happiness coming through from Notre Dame is going to be turned into 20 culture and 20 attempts for We Love You victory point bonuses, which I've gotten 17. 17 We Love You bonuses is huge for so early in the game. Now then, my deck is actually really thin because of how much money I'm making. I'm going to draw 100% of these cards next turn. So this is just like convenience for draw order at this point. Yeah, I'm happy with this hand as well as these next 3 cards, especially the craftsmanship for 1 more push before putting out the monastery for the culture gain. That's fine. That's less fine, but not the end of the world. This is a charged archer with divine strength. Divine strength underneath astronomy up into the God King Civic. The +3 is really good early game, although it falls off compared to just the basic strength card by the time you get to swordsmen. Although it's crazy valuable in archers, nearly doubling their strength for just a single hammer. As we just saw, this charged archer was able to take out the crazy good charged archer from the Chukonu. And here's the perfect spot for East India Company, a random island out in the ocean to grab 14 points worth of tiles. Yep, I am getting this turn 10, 660 guaranteed. But let's see. So architecture, the only thing I get out of here is Great Wall. I have 0 uses for stone left in the deck, so the Great Wall is actually worth it. So, this swordsman, take the city. And then this guy wasn't going to be able to make it over to Heliopolis anyway, so just move up a little bit. I am going to lose a victory point over this unless I give it some happiness. So, 1. How many do I have to give it? That's enough. It's no longer losing a victory point. I'm not going to be able to get enough food to get it to gain that victory point unless... Losing 7 food. I needed 10, so nope. You're good, Becca. I don't need military engineer. Swordsman's an interesting card because it can turn a city that's got 2 or fewer white pips left into a victory point. So Swordsman, turn that iron into a victory point. And, because I don't need you. Organized labor, get more cards. As I was trying to say, this is just a wonder. I have no more use of stone in this entire deck, so do this into Great Wall eventually. I'm not going to be able to take Heliopolis this turn. It's not worth it to get that many points on the board, because I need to get Conquistador, which possible, but just not worth it when I've got more important plays to happen. Sweet. 7, 8. I am 1 science shy of being able to afford Conquistador. So, nope, not worth it. So there's no point in holding on to Charge or Fort. Lumbermill is a long-term card. There's just not going to be any more game. Mine gets me another stone, which I don't need. So goodbye, mine. I'm using 100% of this marble, and I've got no more ways to get marble. So goodbye. You've served me well. Food can potentially get a city that's nearly up over. So Medina might be worth it because it's working this farm tile right here. So +6. That was worth it. This 1 food effectively grew it twice for 2 victory points. But the rest is just money. And in the deck, the only card I want in that deck right now is Organized Labor, so I'm not going to draw into it. So here, Craftsmanship here, to get as much culture in this spot as possible, even though it's less than putting on Beijing. Craftsmanship a second time onto Beijing is worth it. I will not be needing you. You are interesting if I can get another city that's low on food. Actually, wow, that did it. Okay, so it took off 1 food cost from the second population, then it took off 2 clicks of food requirements from shrinking it, so it actually is going to make it up to 1. Yay! But now, Organized Labor and Swordsman are worth it to get me back. So goodbye, Swordsman. And then I want Theology into... Am I going to get more with the cost reduction or Hagia Sophia? I think the marble cost reduction here is actually more valuable. So, 1 more Craftsmanship. Now Hagia Sophia. Then make sure to get the Wonders into your hand early. Wonders increase in price depending on how many Wonders you built before it, but it doesn't update the price of the Wonder if they're in your hand already. So I actually am not going to be able to afford East India Company, but I think that's fine. I could afford it, actually, if I sell the science and the stone. So Great Wall is going to be worth 4 victory points, maybe 5 from the extra culture it gives. While 1, 2, 3, that's 9. 21. While East India Company is going to be worth 14 points if it grabs all 20 tiles. So actually, by architecture, I will not need a Great Wall. Selling all of this. So, if hopefully I can afford it because I might be shy of one of these two. So, East India Company out on an island that you've claimed culturally. 158. Got 13 tiles. Apparently it's a little bit too close to the border to grab all 14 points possible. And then Arc de Triomphe and Hagia Sophia, which one's more important? I'm going to say Arc de Triomphe. Because this arc is for every point, every unit killed this turn. Or, I don't think the Hagia Sophia was going to be able to grab 8 tiles, because every tile is only worth half a victory point. This is effectively +1. So, yeah, I'm not going to be able to afford the Hagia Sophia this game anymore, because I ran out of hammers and gold. Let's see if I can do anything else. Monastery. The whole point about doing the double craftsmanship is to get this monastery to make it cheaper to steal these tiles. As right now, only 6 here as compared to like 12 out here. So it's going to grab at least one of these tiles from Russia. Not useful, can't afford you, and I think I'm done at this point because I don't have any units to play this on. Just in case this guy comes over, because it will always prioritize the city over the unit. And then, one last garrison makes a happiness. This is a chance of getting another We Love You bonus, so there we go. 100 and something points. I think I actually hit the 200 victory point alternate condition this turn, although we'll see. Charging an archer, not dangerous. It's charging melee units to take a city, that's dangerous. Egypt bot retreated. Block these 2 tiles, but that doesn't matter. Like, look at how all this pink just painted across the map. That's fun. Being able to do this entire, like, map-consuming civilization building, like, look at all these cities I put together, and, like, all these monuments putting out culture. Hexarchy is just something so unique and special, being able to put all this together. In such a short time. Like, yeah, this video is effectively 2 hours, but that's because I played 3 games and spent like a good 30 minutes rambling about my thoughts about the different civilizations in the game right now. $194 points in 10 turns. Ooh, that feels good. Like, that is literally twice as much as you need to win a multiplayer game, just like grabbing this giant swath of the map. Egypt actually had this pretty interesting start if they were a real player to work with. Like, we got marble to work with, we got stone. They can make stuff happen. They got multiple pasture resources. Russia also had pretty wide swaths of the map to work with because this is set to a large and far spacing. I could have, in theory, gone across these deserts with a road to attack Russia, but, like, unless I get all the way back here to Moscow, which is, ooh, that's a lot of difficult terrain to go through, it wasn't worth the effort, which I think I kind of knew that intuitively, but, like, being able to put out so much stuff across the empire, like, look at all the buildings going on inside of these cities. All these little monuments flying about, the wonders, each on their own individual tile. Being able to play out this much stuff so quickly, even when I'm taking my sweet, sweet time talking through every single action. Hexarchy is something special for getting all of us out so smoothly and so quickly. And with that, let's take a look at the results of that hegemon, as I just threw another run onto the... So, 1/3 of all runs that have happened, because this is happening Sunday, the day that they reset the week, happened 1/3 of all the runs so far happened on the China. That means nothing, because there's only been, like, 13 runs total across the entirety of the world right now. Because, again, it just reset, but, like... the minus 57% penalty on this guy being applied meant that even though I did get a ton of points on that last one and was doing, I think, pretty well and fast, but still only 1,800 for that good of a run because of just how many people are playing China, all three of us. We'll see how the numbers show up because, like, last week, again, 300,000 points were scored by the winning Civ, compared to here, only 10,000 total. Like, we are 30 times. We are less than 3% of the way through the week, so these scores mean nothing. Especially, but that's only because we haven't had a full week to see them through yet. As that was a fun round of Hexarchy, and good night.